Do not say anything funny.
The Venue, written by Andrew Ionides. Black, the distant sound of waves crashing. Exterior cliff night, a naked man awakes on a wet rock, dazed. He moves, he's restrained. Flames flicker around him. Feral figures move in the dark. They hold fiery torches that glimpse their grim faces. They rub honey and herbs over him. The man murmurs for them to stop. He's hoisted in the air. A shadowy crowd gather below him, faces hidden. A low chant emanates from them. The man's lowered into something made of wood, his vision obscured by a mask with thin eye holes. He panics. Someone in the crowd pulls a rope. The man's led forward like a Trojan horse. He's led over the dark hills towards a blazing bonfire. Figures encircle it, chanting. The man's pulled closer to the fire. His cries turn into hysterical screaming. The rope's given a sudden tug. He's pulled into the flames. Cut to plaque. Pagan rituals, an image showing a man burning in fire. Underneath is historical text. Exterior cliff day, Liv, 20s with golden hair, reads the plaque on the tall rock. She raises her phone and takes a photo of it.
Come on, weirdo, we're late.
Jake, 20s, thin and winsome, waits in a car nearby. Exterior road by coast day. Jake's car drives along a British coastline. The sea glimmers in the autumn sun. Interior car day. Liv gazes at her engagement. I think that should be gazes at her engagement ring. Jake glances at her. She feels his gaze and returns it with a loving smile. Exterior hotel day, an imposing hotel by the coast. Interior ceremony room, hotel day. Liv gazes at the opulent interior, lost in inspired thoughts. Behind, Jake talks to wedding coordinator 1. The coordinator hands Jake a price list. He glances at it, then shows Liv. Her face sinks. Exterior lake day, a gazebo by the lake. 2 rows of chairs are laid out like ceremony. Liv and Jake sit in front of the wedding coordinator 2, who flips through a diary, shows them the next free date in a couple of years. Liv and Jake shake their heads, dejected. Exterior field day, a rickety windmill slants in the muddy field. Liv and Jake stand in front of it.
It's free and available.
Liv sees horse shit everywhere.
We're never going to find anywhere, are we?
We will.
Even if we do, how are we going to afford it?
But my parents will help us out.
Traditionally, it should be my side paying.
Well, this won't be a traditional wedding. They know that.
My parents must think I'm poor.
They think you're perfect.
They haven't even met me yet, silly.
They'll love you. Where next?
Let's find a B&B. I could do with a power nap.
As Liv turns, she nearly walks into an old tractor stationed right in front of her. Charlie, 60s with a Captain Birdseye look, pops his head out of the tractor.
Oh, sorry down there.
It's okay. Still alive.
Are we on your land?
Yeah, but don't worry. I'm not going to chase you off with a shotgun. You look like landmarks.
We're looking for wedding venues.
Oh, I see. There's loads if you go 10 miles that way. The nearest one is a barn. My friend's daughter got married there. Dirt cheap.
But it's booked up.
You don't know till you get there.
Charlie starts the tractor. It splutters to life. He smiles mischievously.
You want a lift?
Liv and Jake laugh.
Well, good.
Good luck to you both.
Charlie rumbles away on his tractor. Jake raises his eyebrows at Liv, gesturing to go. She sighs. Exterior road day, late afternoon. The car drives past desolate farmland. Interior car day. Jake, driving, glances at Liv. She writes in her notebook. On the notebook, horror book ideas, pagan rituals, haunted hotel, abandoned windmill.
You might want to add wedding planning.
Good show.
Liv adds it to her list and shuts the notebook. Her phone buzzes. She looks at it. On the phone, a message from Mum. Don't get married in a windmill.
Mom didn't like the windmill.
Love your mum. Are you so okay now?
It's about.
What was the problem?
Just mother and daughter shit.
Jake nods, then hands Liv a flask. She drinks and winces.
I think you let it brew too long.
Sorry.
Okay. Has it been 10 miles?
I haven't seen a barn yet.
Jake blinks hard, focusing on the road.
Let me take over.
No, I'm fine. You rest.
I just want to keep looking at you.
Jake pulls a funny face. Liv gives him a funny face. She rests her head on the window and closes her eyes. Fade out. Interior car day. A branch hits the window. Liv jolts awake and looks out. They drive through the woodland.
Where are we?
I think I've found it. Look,
Liv sees a dark shape fragmented among the trees.
that's the barn Captain Birdseye was talking about.
How far in are we?
Not far from the main road.
Liv looks at the side view mirror. On side mirror. Dense woodland, no sign of a road. Liv frowns, then sees something. A male couple stroll through the trees hand in hand. They spot Liv and wave at her. Liv waves back. She glances forward. The car drives along a narrow track. On either side are fenced pens with sheep inside them. It leads towards a barn, big, centuries old, adjoined with seven cabins. Plants and herbs blossom around it, Arcadian. Exterior barn day, the car stops in front. Liv and Jake step out in awe.
Wow.
Like a fairy tale.
A door opens. June, 60, smiley and wiry, steps out of a wooden office and approaches them.
Hello there. Lost your way?
We wanted to take a closer look.
By all means. Are you on holiday?
Sort of. We're actually scouting for wedding venues.
Oh, congratulations. People do hire this place. Rustic seems to be the in thing.
That's what we're looking for.
Anything this beautiful.
Well, if you're both not in a hurry, I can gladly give you a tour.
It's not too much bother.
Not at all. We always keep this place open for business. I'm the owner, June.
I'm Jake. This is my fiancée, Liv.
Hi.
Lovely to meet you both. I'll get our groundskeeper to show you around whilst I open up.
Exterior woods near barn day. Groundskeeper 40, stooping, leads Liv and Jake down a crooked path.
When was the last wedding?
A month ago?
They continue walking in silence.
Does it get booked up quick?
The groundskeeper stares at her blankly.
Not sure.
He continues leading. Liv and Jake exchange a frown. Exterior campfire woods near barn day. Jake crouches by a large campfire. Liv squints at the charred remains. She starts to see shapes, human-like. She shakes off the vision.
This would be great to have after the ceremony. Does it come with a menu, or is this a separate package?
Yes.
Groundskeeper walks away.
Make a note of him for your book.
Already did.
Liv and Jake chuckle as they follow. Exterior cliff day. The sun sets over the sea. Liv, Jake and groundskeeper take in the view. Breathtaking.
You can take photos here.
You'd be stupid not to.
Groundskeeper starts singing, surprisingly melodic and haunting. Sounds like an old folk song before time. Liv and Jake exchange an uncomfortable look. Interior barn day. Liv and Jake marvel at this grand space. Its beams zigzagging across the ceiling, old panel walls with shadowy gaps and a creaking floor. It has history. June guides them.
The barn predates 1647. It's had various owners, but was eventually left and forgotten. We came here 20 years ago and decided to reopen it for kids' parties, school retreats, and now weddings.
Do you offer accommodation for wedding parties?
Absolutely. If you do book with us, you get a free cabin.
As June talks, Liv scrutinises the front door. There are 3 lines scorched into it like claw marks. Liv dazes towards it. June blocks her.
Cup of tea?
Interior June's office night. The office is neat but minimal, no technology. June offers them tea. Jake takes it. Liv politely declines.
So, nosy Parker alert. How did you two meet?
We met online. Liv blew me away on our first date, so much so I proposed to her a month later.
Wowee. People fall in love so quick nowadays, thanks to all this social media. It's lovely. What do you think of the barn?
I love it. How do we book?
Well, let's think about it first, if that's okay.
Absolutely, it's your special day.
What's the website?
Oh, we're not online. We like to preserve the barn's secrecy and history. Leave me your number. I'll fish out details and call you.
June offers pen and paper. Liv glimpses a long, gruesome bite mark on June's hand. She quickly averts her gaze and writes her number down. Jake yawns.
Oh, poor him. He looks really tired.
He's been driving all day.
Why don't you both stay the night as a taster?
I don't think we can afford it.
It'd be complimentary.
Jake looks at Liv. She hesitates. Do.
Mm.
Interesting. Okay, John, what's your thoughts?
I can't make up my mind if this is a mystery or a horror. It sucked me in. It really has. I'm very, very intrigued. Very intrigued. With my eyes the way they are at the moment, when it says a shadowy crowd gathered behind him, faces hidden, because my eyes were doing that again. I saw a shadowy crowd gathered below him, feces hidden.
Oh no!
That's what I saw, and I was
Dear.
like, "Whoa, we'll have to refocus on that." But yes, I mean, it definitely drawed me. There's good England, isn't it? It drew me in very much. I'm definitely intrigued, and I want to see where it's going. And I would like to also add at this point, pagans are good people.
Brilliant. Thank
That's
you.
all I have to say.
Okay, thanks. Erin.
Well, a couple things that I found really interesting were that, like, I wondered how the 1600s plays into this opening sequence, like
Dude,
if it's connected. If and I think like this opening sequence too, like I think that it's really fascinating, and I think maybe there needs to be like a little more, it's clear, but like I think you'll explain what I'm trying to say in my brain. But the, I liked, it was really interesting because Jake and Liv's dynamic was really fascinating to me, because they seem to have like a really, really nice relationship, but she's a very traditional person, and in the way that he spoke almost for her at times, it was a really interesting dynamic, and it was really well written that way. And I'm assuming that was intentional, because she even mentions like, well, traditionally, and I thought that was like, that was like, I really liked all the characters. I thought like the groundskeeper and June, like, are they hiding something? Like, I mean, like John said, sucks you in. Like, it's really, I thought it was really well written, and I thought it was really interesting. And I want to see what happens next too. I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, but
You are.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Rory.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I've seen many films like this before. I've been in several films that follow something very similar to this, and played the groundskeeper character and so forth in them. Yeah, I think it's an intriguing new twist on an old story. It's a couple instead of a police officer. It's clearly Wicker Man stuff. And lots of other kind of similar things. I think it's nice. It's setting up that something very dark is going to happen, and poor Liv is well and truly for it, or is not for it, and Jake is.
Well, that's what I thought. Jake's
yeah.
the next guy at the beginning.
Yeah. That it's also there's hints of so what was that, Summer?
Midsummer.
Yeah, Midsummer as well. There's stuff that sort of reminds me of that kind of community out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I think it's pretty well written. There's some really clunky exposition at times that needs to be checked over. But other than that, I think it's a compelling story, and yeah, I'd like to see what happens.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Rory. Emma.
Yeah, I thought I really found the first scene very interesting. Yeah, I just sort of was thinking about what Erin said about the 1600s, and in this it seems to suggest it's something much, much longer ago. But suppose it could be like in the time of witch trials or something like that, couldn't it? It's interesting to think about, what we're showing in this first scene. I'm curious about the way that the characters are described, because Liv has got golden hair. Jake is thin and winsome. June is wiry. Captain Birdseye and things like that. I'm just wondering if you're only going to use, as suggested, sort of one or two words to describe them. What's a deal breaker and what isn't? Because I just wonder whether, golden hair is the most important thing about her, or in whose eyes winsome and things like that. So I'm just a bit curious about some of those choices. They are so cutesy, aren't they, those two? They are obviously victim written all over the pair of them. And I just wonder whether, in a way, not that they should be more horrible, but just that I don't know how long they've known each other since he proposed to her, but whether we're supposed to say it's a very new relationship, she just wants to look at him and things like that, or whether, since the proposal, they've been together for a while. Just because I think, in a way, although she's interested in horror, she's also seems quite skittish about it, quite nervous and quite frightened. And what is it that keeps driving her towards this thing that seems to really quite disturb her? And should we just make them be a bit more quirky rather than just a lovely couple? And then maybe, the stakes will be higher. I know you can sometimes push it too much the other way and they become too unlikable. So we think, oh, good. Well, I hope that they do get sacrificed, actually, but I just wonder whether there should be a sort of a quirkiness about that relationship that isn't quite there yet. Although I totally take on board what you're saying, Erin, about that interesting dynamic. Also, he's talked about by June when he's still in the room, isn't he? It's sort of like, oh, poor old him, he's very tired. There's an interesting observational quality. British coastline, I think it'd be helpful to say which bit of it we were talking about.
There are several thousand miles of it.
There's a bit, isn't there?
So windmills suggest East Anglia, but it's sort of also, there's great, woods, which is kind of like Forest of Dean.
There's all sorts of bits, obviously, aren't there? But no, I live in Cornwall, so I'm interested in folk horror, and as with Rory, I've been in quite a lot of them, and I've enjoyed doing it because it's fun. And I just think there's maybe an interesting thing that if Liv is a horror writer, there's that slightly meta thing about it going on, which some fun could be had with, perhaps.
Yeah, she knows what's going to happen because it's following the way that these stories always go. Well, hang on a minute.
Well,
that's a nice. Sorry, Erin.
No, I was gonna say that it's also interesting too that it seems like Jake has met Liv's mom, but she's not met his parents, it sounds like, because he's like, love your mom, but then she's like, I haven't even met them, silly, or something like that. So I'm like, that's really interesting too. So if it is like, is there like a
that
is
was
he
the
part of this, like
that was the exposition bit that I meant. There was the conversation with Mother on that is covered. It could be covered better than it is at the moment. It's it's I feel it's slightly lazy in the way it's
Erin,
covered.
Rory lives in England. You're dating him, so you're obviously in England, and your parents are in America. Obviously, he hasn't met them yet.
And we're poor.
Yes, ridiculously poor. So
she's poor,
romantic.
though, but I don't think he is. I think there's a financial difference too, because he's like, we'll pay. So I think that's a fascinating thing
dynamic,
too. Like, an interesting dynamic. Like, I think I think I would love to see I'd like to see more of the script, so because I'd like to have some of these things answered,
I kind of would like to know a little bit more about these two, really. I don't think that golden hair and thin and winsome, as you said, Emma, doesn't really do it for me.
No.
But at the same time, golden hair limits you to a casting, insofar as we have to be a bit cautious about how we describe people these days.
But you use the term golden hair in Britain, and it's people like yourself and Emma and me, redheads.
Well, there's that as well. I mean,
But in America, when they say golden haired, it's blondes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree with whoever said that the action needs a little bit more of something to pull it up slightly. It's very functional. I love functional action. It's great. I think it should be functional, but at the same time, you do have to infuse it with something just to make it like sing on the page a little bit. And I agree. It's quite clunky. On page 2, there's an awful lot of gazing, and there's a typo there as well on the first line. But
yeah, dazing.
you gaze at this, you gaze at that. There's a gaze at the opulent in it, and I just think kind of mix up the language a little bit. I mean, it's not a biggie. It's just one of my niggles. That's all. One thing I read you have Jake speaks before you describe him. I realize he's off screen. That's quite novelistic sort of thing to do. You have a character speak and then you go, this is the character. It needs to be the other way around, really, I think, but only because it's they're so close to one another. I mean, you could get away if you're not seeing him for a while. But we're seeing him immediately. So I think there needs to, and I'm wondering why he has to be off screen in that. She's reading I'm assuming that you mean she's looking at the rock and the plaque and taking a photo of it, and we're focusing on her, and we hear his voice over her focusing on it, and then we cut to him. I'm assuming that's what the intended. I'm being picky, aren't I? I'm sorry. The other thing is, I think on page 3 there's an interior car day, and then after that there's an exterior hotel day followed swiftly by an interior ceremony room. I understand what you're doing there. You are doing an establishing shot with a hotel. You need to say to establish or establishing after that exterior hotel day. Again, I'm being picky on formatting stuff. But it is intriguing. It's weird how it draws you in, but it has so many echoes of, like you said, so many other things. And the one thing that came to my head about the relationship dynamic was Jonathan Creek.
Yeah.
Would be nice to have that kind of dynamic between the characters, you know. It would be nice if you had one that was, if she's really quite a sensitive person, she's into her horror stuff, she's picking up on stuff, and maybe it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know. It's like, because she's so attuned to this, she's picking up on stuff which doesn't exist. And it would be nice to have him as a complete reverse, as a quite logical, you know, though there's an answer to
the Omega factor.
Yes, the Omega factor.
Yeah. But I quite like Captain Birdseye. And I wondered if he's got a part to play later, you know.
Yes.
The demon tractor driver or something.
or he's the only good one.
Or he's the only good one, exactly.
Obviously, he's the good one. I mean, come on, he's ridiculously handsome. Other men...
Or it's like he wears a
beard.
rummage and he's actually a scarecrow, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Never thought of that.
Anyway, yeah, great. Would like to know what happens next, which is a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff.